Okay, everyone. Hello. Welcome everyone to today's Streamly live stream Q&A panel for the hit anime Frieren Beyond Journey's End. And today, starting with right right here. Introduce yourself, Mallory. Right.
Oh, me. Hi. Hi, I am Mallory Rodak, and I am the English voice of Frieren. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for organizing this.
Okay. And I believe right here, Jill.
Hi, my name is Jill Harris, and I voice Fern in Frieren Beyond Journey's End.
Woo! And then last but not least, right here.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jordan Dash Cruz. I'm the voice of Stark in Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Beautiful show. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't. And if you have, I want to know what you guys think.
Lovely. Oh my god. So I am personally a really huge fan of this anime. The anime actually got me into reading the manga. And to start things off, wait, oh my god, I'm reading the freaking questions right now. What are some things that all of you have personally found endearing about your own characters?
Ooh, well, I can kick it off because I have an immediate answer, and it's Sleepy Frieren. Maybe that's kind of a funny answer, but just her sleepiness, it resonates with me personally. I'm a very sleepy person. Like, ideally, I would get 12 hours of sleep if I could, which I know is
my god.
Really, crazy, but I do love to sleep. And I think Frieren's the same way. And so her sleepiness immediately endeared me to the character. I was like sending snaps to my friend, like, she's me, because I totally get it. I also need that much sleep. So thank you, Frieren.
Oh my god. Okay, Jill, how about you?
Well, one thing that I like about Fern is she's kind of like the mom friend of the group. And she's very much like, we have a budget that we need to stick to, and like we need to go shopping. And she's the ultra responsible one, which her dynamic with Frieren, I just think is so funny. And I don't know, I relate to that, and I just thought that was fun.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I love how mature Fern is, but like in comparison to like their age and just how old Frieren is, like she's kind of had this like carefree air to her, and Fern really balances that out, and I really love that. Hey, what about you, Jordan?
So for me, which by the way, I hope you guys can hear me. The Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty. I just love Stark's attitude. You know, he's a little bit of a goofball, a little bit, of a scaredy cat sometimes, but he likes to do what he can to help out the group. He's got a lot of endearing moments where we kind of get to see not necessarily warrior Stark, but we get to kind of, see his like true feelings about like how he was raised, like how he grew up, some of the hardships that he faced. So exploring that front with him was a lot of fun, just because there's similarities, expectations that you put on yourself, and thinking that you're not good enough, and then other people see you differently and they see that you are good enough. So it was really cool getting a chance to delve into that, and then enjoy the old Starky boy. There we go.
Starky boy. Okay, now taking a question from the comments from John Knight says, who or what got you into anime?
For me, it was Attack on Titan, which is a little bit perhaps later than you'd expect, because I really didn't I didn't watch anime until really Attack on Titan came about. And I think how big it was, how it kind of bled into mainstream culture. That was my first taste of it. And then I kind of went back in history. Like Ghost in the Shell for me is absolute classic. In fact, today I am releasing a retrospective on Ghost in the Shell with organization called Cinema Force that dives into, podcasts about different shows and things like that. So Ghost in the Shell, I mean, wow, like it really impacted me and made me think about anime completely differently. So I think those two pieces of anime were the ones that started me down the rabbit hole, and now it's so much bigger.
Have you guys ever heard of 4Kids? Uh, uh,
Oh my god.
yes, I started with a show called Mew Mew Power. The Japanese title is Tokyo Mew Mew. And I fell in love with that. And then I went to the library. I was like, I need to find more of this anime stuff. And they had DVDs of an anime called Kadocha. And I watched that so many times. Laura Bailey's the lead, and Jerry Jewell is the love interest. And I try not to think about it because it's like a weird full circle thing. But now Jerry Jewell is my boss, and it's weird.
Oh my god.
But funny how life works.
He's the best.
Do you ever catch yourself like kind of realizing like, oh my god, they're my boss? Like
I do, and then I have to stop because I'm like,
you're like,
I can't get weird. I can't be weird. But yes, 10-year-old Jill would be freaking out right now. Like,
"Mm." Okay, Jordan, how about you?
So for me, I actually got into the anime game pretty late. I knew like what Pokemon was and like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, but I never really watched it. I want to say I was in college, and I had a buddy of mine who was really into anime, and he started showing me like a couple of shows, obviously like Naruto and a couple other things, and I was like, hey man, this is pretty cool. So then I just started binge watching so many things, and I ended up falling in love with the medium. I thought it was really cool, and honestly, like getting a chance to hear some of the voice actors in these shows. I had done acting in college and in high school, and it was something that I was like, hey, this seems like something that I might be able to get into, like something that it seems interesting. Lo and behold, 6 years later, here I am. But no, I ever since I was introduced to anime, it's been a big part of my life and of my wife's life as well.
Yeah, once you get into anime, it's just like a rabbit hole and it just kind of consumes your life of like getting merch and also conventions. It's such a tight-knit community as well, and back after just like getting into anime. Okay, and so this next question, I feel like I already know the answers to this one, but would y'all get along with your characters if they were real? And if so, what would be like your friendship dynamic?
Ooh. I mean, yes, definitely. I think I would get along with Frieren.
Just sleeping.
Yeah, we would just take big naps together, I think. Then wake up, and another kind of endearing aspect of Frieren that I love is her collecting spells, because I am a little bit of a collector as well. Try not to be a hoarder, try to only collect things that are very small. But for instance, like one of my favorite collections is right here. I love mini brands. I don't know if you guys have heard about these, but this is like a miniature Sonic cheeseburger that has like a cheese pull in it. I just can't imagine anything greater than this. And so I feel like if mini brands had existed in Frieren's world, she would so be about them. But I think we would just sleep. We would like collect things, around the world. We would get along famously.
I love that. Someone needs to make fan art of Frieren holding a little mini Sonic cheeseburger, please. Thank you.
I would love
Okay, Jill.
Yes. Well, I love that Fern is a little bit sassy. I would enjoy doing like a little bit of like gossiping, like a little bit of
Ooh,
complaining.
spilling the
with
juice.
Fern. Yeah, spilling some tea. And then also she loves to read, and I've always been a big reader. I think we get along really well.
Aw, I love that.
I think
Hey, Jordan?
Stark and I would probably get along pretty well too. He seems like just a chill dude when he's not freaking out, scared of things. you know, he's got a lot of skills. You know, it was funny because Jade and I mentioned at one scene, you know, he's like kind of sewing his jacket. He can cook. So he's got a lot of skills. So I feel like he and I would get along pretty swimmingly. If anything, just like, you know, grabbing a bite to eat, chatting about life. It'd be cool. It'd be fun having him as a friend.
Watching Stark in the anime, I feel like he's the guy that he doesn't intend it, but he's just friends with everyone just because he's such a nice, helpful guy, and he doesn't even notice that he's like, everyone just like loves him.
Yeah, no, he's I feel like he's a little bit of an extrovert. And I agree with you. I think he is. He's very kind, you know, like he's got manners, you know, he's respectful. And I just think he has this, I guess, this little air of charm, you know, where people are kind of drawn to him, and it's like, hey, you know, this guy's, you know, he's kind of a scaredy cat, but he's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And also Jill, I feel, maybe this is me just projecting, but I feel like Fern would rabbit hole into Tumblr, but it would be a secret. She'd have like a secret Tumblr account, blogging fanfics.
Absolutely.
Okay, so taking a question from the comments here from James Holt, what would you say was your most difficult or challenging role?
For me, I would say Pudding from One Piece. She just kind of really runs the gamut. My first session with her, with Anthony Bowling, he came in, he was like, this is the ultimate tsundere. Like every tsundere you've ever played has been practice, is building up to this one. And like every emotion possible, she does it. And I feel like it really stretched me and helped me grow as an actress. And I was especially thankful to work on that with Anthony Bowling, who's just a wonderful director. And it's very easy to be vulnerable in front of him.
For the fans in chat, can you explain just a little rundown on what a tsundere is and like that character archetype?
Oh, tsundere, it's a girl who is kind of harsh and mean on the outside, but soft on the inside. Like, I don't know, like classic tsundere lines. It's not like I like you or anything, or
Like,
just stuff
shut
like
up.
that. Yeah, the girl who's like mean to the boy that she likes, because yeah.
Oh my god, I love that. Mallory, Jordan?
You know, I was really thinking about this one, and part of me wants to say High Elf Archer. So I'm going to talk about another elf. So I've got a couple of them under my belt, which I think is so fantastic. But High Elf Archer, on one hand, when I get in the booth, it feels so natural just to get into that character. Like there's something about her that just feels like home when I'm in the booth and I'm voicing that character. But on the other hand, it's a very violent anime, and there are some very harrowing scenes that were really difficult to do because I think partly because I felt so at home in the character, you know, to see her go through these terrible scenarios with horrible goblins kind of coming after her and her party. You know, it wrenched my heart in a lot of ways to see that. I think just because I love the character so much.
Oh, man. I haven't watched well, it was Goblin Slayer, right?
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, like from my friends, it's a very intense anime and story, I believe, but all good things that I heard about the story.
It is. It's really good. It's intense, but at the same time, it has those moments where it's really endearing, where the party gets together and, you know, there's good camaraderie between them. So I would say if you're a fan of elves, My Girl High Elf Archer, check it out in Goblin Slayer.
Okay, Jordan, what about you?
Yeah. So for me, one or two. Vocally, the most difficult was probably Suleiman in One Piece, just because he's like a 40-year-old man who's like 8 feet tall, and his voice is very deep. So just trying to like hit that and stay on that consistently was a little bit challenging. I had to be careful not to like, you know, like damage my vocal cords.
Mm.
But I want to say like Ryo Hoshino from oh gosh, what's the show called? Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. That was the first character that I played where he was kind of like normal, and it was me using my regular voice. And I had never really gotten a chance to do that before. Um, so it was kind of like a learning experience for me. I was working with Cliff, who was directing the show, and it was during the pandemic, so I'm sure you guys know, like, we had to ride our own gain, and we had to like we had to use like the little actor kits and stuff. um but so I guess in a way, like, that in of itself made it challenging, but also just I was always afraid that my regular voice was just like boring and no one would like want to hear it. So I always had to like play it up. But it was really fun to be like, oh hey, I can just talk, and like people will appreciate like the character and the show and the acting. So I would probably say him, just for all of those different factors.
Ah, I see. Okay. So, one more question from chat right here from Jacob Batote. Did you anticipate the level of attention Frieren, the anime, would get when you got your roles?
Oh my gosh. Yes and no. I remember when I got the text and I was walking down the stairs and I was so excited. I started Googling everything because I hadn't heard of Frieren at that point. And it seemed like there was already pretty good hype for the anime. And so that got me really excited. But how much I feel like it's grown even since the beginning has been a real surprise. It's interesting to see that it's starting to bleed over into mainstream American culture too. You'll find different people, saying, "Oh my gosh, I was watching Frieren the other day," and it's. I love to see that. I hope more and more people watch it because I'm just such a fan of the show, the music, the characters, the animation, everything. So it was a bit of a surprise, but I knew something was really special about the show.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar experience when I got the email. Before I accept a role, I always try to do a little bit of research. And so I was like, I'll read a couple chapters of the manga. And I got so into it that I read like the first 2 volumes of the
Oh
manga,
my
like
god.
that night immediately. And I knew that I was like, this is a good anime. And I thought it'll probably catch on, but also you kind of never know sometimes with anime fans what'll stick and what won't stick. And then there was like sometimes with the studio, Crunchyroll will push certain shows and not push others, and you never know what they're going to put their marketing budget towards. And so I was just like, this has the potential to blow up and be huge. I just didn't know if it would. And I'm glad that it's gaining traction and people do recognize it as the masterpiece that it is.
Yeah, I have to agree with that as well. When the show had started, I actually didn't even, I had no idea what the show was. A couple of friends had mentioned the name of the show. They were like, "Oh, Frieren," and I was like, "Oh, what's that? I don't think I've heard of this before." Um, and they were like, "Oh, it's going to be like, it's a good show. Like it's highly anticipated." And I was like, "Oh, cool." But it's funny because like Stark didn't show up till about episode 5 or 6. So by the time like everyone else was cast, or at the very least like, Mallory and Jill, like I still had no clue I was even going to be in the show. And they brought me in. I had one line, and and Jade goes, "Yeah, I'm going to have you voice Stark," and I didn't know any of these characters, so I'm thinking like, okay, he's probably like a one and done, like, I'm coming in doing this. And then I look at him and I'm like, I think he's on the cover. And I ask my wife, I'm like, I think he's on the cover. And she's like, yeah, I think he's like one of the main people. But in terms of the popularity, like, it's been really cool because it's kind of like how Mallory said, yes and no. Like clearly it was popular because people were talking to me about it, but I didn't think, I didn't realize like how popular it was going to be in such a short amount of time. People already cosplaying at like conventions and, coming up, and, I've had people be like, man, I love Stark, or I love the show. Like I'm reading the manga, I'm watching it, sub and dub. I'm doing all this. And, it's really cool just to see people vibe with a show like this. Cause it's a really good show. Like, not to be biased or anything, but it's a really, really solid show.
I agree. So I started reading the manga again because of how well the anime was, and like how I could immediately tell like the story was just so well written, and like how the characters were so well written and so relatable, and they weren't just these like super exaggerated like archetypes. Like they felt like real people.
Yeah.
And so seeing how good the story was, but then also seeing people making a bunch of memes on like Fern pouting or like Frieren sleeping, and I just love seeing like the difference in like people could have fun with it, but also really enjoy like the emotional aspect of the story as well.
Well, that's such a good point on the memes, though, because I think that has maybe been my favorite part of how popular Frieren has got, is all of like Frieren meme culture. I mean, from like hot dogs to Costco to
Oh my god.
all sorts of things that are out there. Like I'm here for all of it. It is so great. Because you're right. There's such emotion associated with the story, but there's so much fun in how people play with the characters online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the big joys of this show is the fan base. Like it's a very cool fan base, and it's cool to be a part of something as it's airing, and just watching people's reactions to it with the simuldubs and stuff. So
Agreed. Also, the Costco thing had me like busting out laughing.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. So, two questions I have lined up. One, juxtapose. The first one, each of you, which do you prefer, Frieren sleeping or Fern pouting? Which?
You already know my answer, and it's Frieren sleeping.
I mean, I've got to be biased and do Fern pouting.
All right.
Great. So the tiebreaker's up to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say Stark screaming?
Okay. Okay, and the next question is a little bit more on the emotional side. With the series theme of time and treasuring memories and experiences, did it hit any of you particularly hard? And I know for me it sure did. This is from Twitter, from Mallory's Twitter. Some of her fans sent over some lovely questions.
Whew, yeah, I mean, I can say 100% yes. When Himmel died and recording that scene, like I was crying in the booth. I've just experienced a lot of loss lately. A good friend of mine passed away. My beloved cat passed away. And so just dealing with so much like grief and sadness, and then the show coming about and just talking about the passage of time and thinking about like my life and all of the different friend groups that I've had, throughout life. And man, it really hits you hard. And I think that's what's so wonderful about the show, is that everyone can find something to relate to in their own life, in the story. And so it absolutely kind of wrecked me there at the beginning. But seeing Frieren and her arc, because she's learning more about humans. She's learning more about life and friendship and those sorts of things. That's sort of the healing aspect of it, is watching it and seeing her go through that and learn and become better.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. The show plays with time in a way that I've not seen another fantasy series do, but Frieren's sense of time is centered around Himmel. There was like before Himmel and after Himmel, and everything. I think it's so interesting that everything is told like X amount of years after Himmel's death. And that's just so interesting. And it makes you really stop and reevaluate and be like, okay, I'm working a lot right now, and maybe I should prioritize my friends and my relationships, because it's like I don't ever want to look back and regret, like, why didn't I spend more time with this person? Why didn't I appreciate this person more? And I think it's just a beautiful reminder to look at the people in your life, um and just, that's what's really important, right, people? So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with Mallory and with Jill here. I mean, the show has definitely used time in a way that I've never seen done in a show. It was funny because I read a comment recently where someone had mentioned that the way that they view it, the show, because sometimes the show skips around, or it'll be like, hey, 6 months have passed, but it's only been like 15 minutes in the episode. And it's like someone mentioned, like, oh, maybe this is how like Frieren sees time, like just quick like that, which I thought was a really cool like point of view. Um, but it's a really beautiful just concept. For example, I lost my grandfather last year around this time, and it was difficult. He's someone that I had lived with for 26 years of my life. So to not have him there anymore, it was tough, and it was hard. But it did open my eyes to the whole, hey, maybe I should focus on the people that, are in my life, the people, that I care about, spending time with them, calling them, talking to them. Obviously, work is important too. And sometimes we do get a little busy, but, making sure that you realize, hey, I might be busy, but like these people are still important, and I do need to like keep in contact with them and talk to them, because, at some point I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. So it's a really cool show. My wife and I, she's driving, so she doesn't want to be on camera. But we've had little discussions about just, the show and how it portrays time, how it portrays like character interactions, how it portrays the relationship between the characters. So like Fern and Stark's relationship with each other, Frieren, trying to have a relationship with Fern and Stark, like as a party. Um, you know, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil, but other things that happen in the show. So it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Jill and Mallory, for sharing. When it comes to time, I feel like, especially seeing time in the perspective of Frieren, she's not immortal as far as I know, but she has basically lived so long for centuries that I would consider her immortal. And I feel like typically in media, people view immortality as just like a plus, but would you want to, if you had the choice, would you want to be this elf that could live over like so many centuries, thousands of years, knowing like Frieren's perspective on her relationships in life?
Ooh, man, that is a tough question, because obviously there are such benefits. If you think about just so many things I want to do in the world, travel, things I want to see, things I want to experience. So there's something really enticing about having more time to do those things. But on the same side of things, it's like, man, if my friends were not immortal, if my family was not immortal, and I had to see everyone that I know die basically before my eyes, that to me would be such a tough experience to go through. So I'm torn. I think the tiebreaker for me would be like, can all my friends also be elves? Can all my family be elves? Can we all be together? Because if we can't, I don't know if I could bear the loss of them.
For me, I'm good. Immortality has never appealed to me. I don't want to live that long. That just seems way too long. So I am okay.
I'm good too, but it would be cool like if everybody did live to be like 1,000 or something. Like if that was just the norm, then yeah, it would be fine because like I just wouldn't, I wouldn't know anything different. But I I don't think if it was just me and I had to watch like friends and family and people die constantly, like I get to know them 80 years, they're done. Like I couldn't do it. Like I think I'd much rather just have, my time on this earth and then, that's it.
And there's part of me that wants to think that as people live that long, they would become better people through that process. But reading enough fantasy, you hear about a lot of immortal beings and they lose touch with their humanity too. So, if everyone was immortal, would we lose touch with who we are? There's something about mortality that makes you live every day, with vigor. And it makes you wonder, if we were all immortal, would the world be better off or would it be worse off? I'm not sure.
I can imagine with all those years, if everyone just lived for so long, everyone would just might be lackadaisical. Everyone's just like, oh, well, I have so much time on my hands, but we'll never know. Okay, so next question, guys. So if you were all in this magical world, in the Frieren's world, would you want to become a traveling adventurer or would you want to just chill in your village?
I think for me, like, if I lived as long as an elf, I'd want to travel for sure. If I didn't, I'd probably travel a little bit. But I'm also cool being a homebody. So it's like travel's cool, but I'm also cool just like not traveling. So that's a tough one. I don't know. Maybe like half and half for me. Like maybe I would like get it out of my system early and then settle down like towards my later years.
Oh,
I wish I could say that I would like the optimistic part of me is like, yeah, I would travel and visit all these beautiful places. But myself in real life, I do hate to leave my apartment. I do hate to change out of my pajamas. I think I would just realistically just be a homebody.
you're like, oh, I'll do it. I'll do it later.
Yes, although I like Fern, I would like to go collect like spells to like, here's the clean laundry spell and here's the do the dishes spell. And I would collect those spells and then I would stay at home.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I think I'm with Jill. The optimistic side of me says, yes, I love to travel. I would be going around everywhere, but knowing the evil that lurks in Frieren's world, I'm so gullible. I would get tricked by a demon and probably die immediately. So I don't know if it'd be so wise. I probably should just like stay in my little hut in Frieren's world. But man, there's something really cool. Just all of the montages of them traveling around the world. I'm like, I want to be doing that. This world looks so beautiful. Like that just looks like fun.
Oh my God, Mallory, I could imagine in this world, similar to Frieren, you would just get tricked by the mimics all the time.
I would not survive.
Okay. So next up, and I think Jordan is currently there. We'll wait till Jordan gets back. But until he gets back, Mallory, Jill, what is everyone's favorite moment so far in the anime?
For me, it's 3 words. Ara, kill yourself. That was just like,
oh my God,
a powerful scene. And it was fun because Jill was guest directing that week. So the two of us kind of got to create that scene together. And that was really special. But there's something really wonderful about how Frieren appears so normal and just like, one of your friends. But then when her power is unleashed and you see just how powerful she is, like it gives me goosebumps. She's so incredible in that scene. there's something so cold about her turning her back to Ara and just walking away and saying, you know, those 3 words that, yeah, it was really powerful. I loved it.
It was amazing. I loved that moment.
Oh, I really, I'm not usually like a big shipper, but I do love the relationship between Fern and Stark. I feel, I think Jordan touched on this earlier, but it feels very real, and you don't often see realistic or healthy romantic relationships in anime all of the time. And so I'm a big sucker for a Stark and Fern scene. And I was really tickled by the recent episode where she's got the cold fingers and she touches his face and he's like, ah. I don't know. I thought that was very cute. And then, you know, he touches her shoulder and she gets all mad and it's, I don't know, they're cute. I love them.
They are so cute.
Oh my god. When I watched I watched Frieren with my partner, and I just love how, again, like you said, Joe, they feel like a real couple and they're not just these exaggerated characters. And when she touched his face with the cold fingers, I had cold fingers at the time. I just like to my partner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My fingers are always cold. I'm always cold and my partner is always warm. So that is absolutely a thing that I do to my partner all the time. I'm like, my fingers are cold. I need to warm up. And they're like, ah. So yes, I was like, yes.
Jordan, you're back.
I am. Sorry about that. My phone ran out of data, but my wife has unlimited data.
Woo! Okay, Jordan.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So I just asked Mallory and Jill, what was it? What it's your favorite moment so far in the anime?
Oh, in the anime. Okay. Also, is the sound quality okay? I just want to double check real quick. Sound good? Okay.
It's okay.
It's decent. What's up? Is it?
You gotta turn off the Bluetooth.
Oh, turn off the Bluetooth. Okay, sorry. I'll answer this question and then I'll turn off the Bluetooth.
Okay.
So my favorite in the anime so far, I love the dragon fight scene. I thought that was beautifully animated. I thought it was really, really fun. Plus, it's like you got somebody freaking fighting a dragon. Like, how is that not cool? But I've also loved a lot of just the back and forth banter between Fern and Stark. I think that's hilarious. You know, he'll do something and then she'll be like, you know, such an idiot. And he's like, I know. So just a lot of those moments are pretty cool for me. And then just the concept of them traveling from town to town, meeting different people. The whole, you know, they might be introduced to a character, and then that character only shows up for that episode, and then it's like, hey, let's move on to the next town and keep this, you know, journey going. I think that's a really cool, like, vibe, I guess, for the show. So I would say that those are probably some of my favorites for sure.
Nice. Okay, we'll see you. You're gonna disconnect for a little. Okay. And okay, so something I want to ask you, Mallory and Jill, and Jordan when he gets back is, so Frieren, again, Jill said that Frieren's sense of time is kind of revolved around Himmel, with Himmel, and then like after Himmel. Mallory, what's your opinion on Himmel and Frieren's relationship? It's pretty complex. Some people say, oh, it's romantic. Some people say, oh, it's just friends, but it's a pretty complex relationship that they have. And after his death, how do you think Frieren views Stark and Fern's relationship, like with her experiences with Himmel?
That's a tough question. There's been some debate online about this. Just the nature of their relationship and if it went down the way it should have gone down. Because I think people love to ship them together. They, in many ways, wanted them to end up together in, a romantic relationship. But things happened the way they did, and if they didn't, I feel like the story would be very different. So for me, I like the way that it ended up turning out because his death prompted Frieren to discover some things about herself. And I'm really excited for the conclusion as they make this travel, up north. Maybe there might be a way for Frieren to communicate with Himmel, and that to me gets me so excited. But it's tough because I see those scenes of them together. I see when he gets down on one knee and I do a little squeal inside because I'm like, oh my gosh. But there's something really wonderful about the fact that he never pushed Frieren, beyond what she felt comfortable with. And, the two of them and their dynamic, it's just really special. So I like it the way it is. And I think it's helped Frieren become a better person and discover herself a little bit more.
What about you, Jill? Opinion on the relationship?
Yeah. I think even in the show they say that like the elves are aromantic or asexual, and that's why there aren't very many elves, because reproducing is just not their thing. And I really appreciate. I think Himmel picked up on that. I don't think Himmel's ace by any means. I think Himmel picked up on that, and I do appreciate the fact that he loved this woman, but he could sense that she was maybe not interested in a romantic relationship, certainly not at that time. And he just continued to love her. Like he wasn't in it for the romance. He genuinely loved her. And I think people forget that, and not that they were in a relationship, but you can have a very fulfilling and beautiful relationship with a romantic or asexual person. Those things aren't required. And I'm happy to see kind of that representation in anime, and them just kind of playing with that stuff a little. And I know a lot of people look at Himmel and they're like, he's really sad or he's pathetic or whatever, but he seemed to enjoy his life. Like he lived his life, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting relationship for sure, and I'm really excited to get further in the series and learn more about Himmel and Frieren, because again, this is a relationship that I don't think I've ever seen in anime before, and it's really beautiful and it's really interesting to examine.
Jordan, what about you? If you didn't catch the question, I asked both Mallory and Jill what their opinion is on the complex relationship of Himmel and Frieren.
Oh, okay. No, good question. Also, is this better? Can you guys?
That's a little better.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
better.
All right. Yeah, no, I actually really thought that the relationship was or has been like well done in the terms of the show. I like the fact that they've given the audience like bits and pieces, at a time, kind of showcasing, Himmel's feelings and how he, views Frieren, and the fact that he is just super respectful. I think that that's really, really great. I don't know how often I've seen something like that done in anime, kind of like how you said, Jill. Um, it's really, really cool. I like the fact that he's able to, I don't want to necessarily say that Frieren said no, but like the fact that he's willing to, take no for an answer and say like, hey, like I still care about her, like even if she doesn't have the same feelings for me romantically, I'm still going to show her that I care, show her how much she means to me, because she's a really important person in my life. So I really like the way that the anime's been portraying their relationship, kind of in like the flashbacks and the bits and pieces that we've gotten, and I'm curious to see more.
Not, also, just a quick audio check. Do you hear noise from outside?
A little bit, but we can still hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so looking at the YouTube comments from Kitsune Girl 56, what about your characters inspires you to keep going?
Wow. I mean, for Frieren, she suffered so much loss, and she still moves on, and life moves on. And I think that for me, as I've suffered some losses this past year, that's the thing that I realized. I thought I wouldn't be able to go on there for a while, but I realized that like the grief, it always stays with you in a way, but you also can find moments of happiness and friendship and adventure too along the way. And so that for me was something I learned about Frieren, was when she suffered so much. Her entire party has passed away, but she's found new purpose, new meaning, new friendships. She's found herself in a lot of ways too. So I think that's really powerful.
Welcome back, Jordan.
So Fern, her backstory is touched on a little bit in episode 2. She's orphaned by, I think, war. But I really, one thing that I really appreciate about the show is there's a found family aspect to it for sure. Just like Heiter wasn't her biological father, but he took her in. And all of that stuff, and Fern and Frieren have a beautiful special relationship, and Zine has like a really fun dynamic between all of them, and it's as people have touched on, we don't always have our family in our life. Maybe they've passed, or sometimes there's just there's just stuff that separate you from your family, and you might feel like an orphan, but you can find your people, and they become your world, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. So for me, and the question was like how we kind of like, what was it, like view our characters, or our characters have anything that.
Yeah, how has your character inspired you to keep going?
Okay. Yeah, no. So it's cool, like seeing. I had touched on it a little bit earlier. Stark's backstory with his family, and them. Him coming from a big family of warriors, and how they did things, and his father essentially thought of him as nothing because he didn't think he was a good warrior, and the only person that was really there for him was his brother. It's really cool because I see things like that, and I know that there's some people that feel like they have to be perfect, or they feel like they have to be this specific thing, because if they aren't, people aren't gonna pay attention to them, or they feel like people might look at them as like a failure, or people might treat them with disrespect because well, you're not this, well, I'm not even going to bother talking to you because you're not worth my time. And I think that everyone's probably dealt with something like that, or a person like that before in their life. So to me, it was inspiring because I saw a character like him who had gone his entire life thinking all these things, and thinking that he was nothing, and thinking that people didn't care, or that his family, that he was a coward, that he wasn't a good warrior, only to find that other people in his life actually did view him highly, actually did give him a chance to, they didn't consider him, a failure, or they didn't consider him, someone who wasn't worth investing in or wasn't worth, talking to. So I don't know. I think that that's a really cool, at least for me, it's inspiring because it lets me know that I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be like, like this incredible, like individual, like doing all these incredible things all the time. Like it's okay to just be myself, and there's going to be people in my life who accept me for that, and they they're happy to have me, as a friend, or as a husband. My wife's driving.
Oh my God, guys. Amazing answers. And Jordan, your internet it keeps cutting off, but your answers have been like phenomenal. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So next question. So for your characters, how well do you think they'd actually adjust to our world if they were just teleported right now into modern society? How well do you think they would adjust?
Maybe not so good. Go ahead, Jordan.
Sorry, I was gonna say. I mean, we've got mountains, so I guess shark could always cut through them. But I feel like he would probably adjust pretty well. I mean, he like I said, he knows how to cook, he knows how to sew, he knows how to take care of himself. I don't know like what job he would potentially get. I don't know, maybe like something in construction. I don't know. I feel like he'd be like something in construction, but I don't know. I feel like he would adjust to this world pretty well. Maybe like the technology, like cars and stuff, would take a little getting used to, but I don't think he would have any problem, figuring things out.
Yeah, I can imagine Stark, before he starts like truly adjusting, he's just cutting down trees in like a national park and gets in trouble and is like, well, what? I'm just gathering firewood.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want me to do? Just trying to survive out here.
I could see Fern like becoming an accountant, or like I don't know, budgeting for people, and so maybe like doing a lot of work around tax time, and then the rest of the year hitting up a Dunkin' Donuts and going to the library, and that would just be her perfect life.
Okay, someone needs to draw Fern as an accountant eating Dunkin'.
Yes,
please.
Oh, I love it. I'm kind of torn. On one hand, I would say it's interesting because Frieren comes from kind of a different time and is having to adjust to life in the world that she's in. And so part of me says, coming to this world, oh my gosh, would she maybe not do so good? But then at the same time, I'm like, I see her growing. I see her learning. It may take a while, but I feel like eventually she could find her place in this world. There's lots of things to collect. She could go collect some mini brands with me. There's little places she could hide away, and lots of places she could adventure to. We don't have any mimic chests or anything like that, but maybe she could find something similar.
Oh my God. I don't know if you guys know what Sunny Angels are. They're like a little... I can imagine Frieren just getting really into collecting those little collectible knickknacks, like including mini brands, and she just has like a vast collection of them all displayed.
Yep. I love it. There's so many things for her to collect in this consumerism culture.
Oh, she'd love it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, a question from Shoulder on YouTube. What have been your favorite lines to voice? And you don't need to do these in character if you're not comfortable, but yeah.
I mean, okay, so I already said my one. That's my favorite, which is Ara, Kill Yourself. But I'll tell you another one that I really, really like. There's times when Frieren is very pleased with herself, and she does this little noise, this little, kind of a noise, and I love it so much because you've seen it in different points throughout the story, and it's just a really endearing noise. So it's not necessarily a line; it's more of a
Little
noise.
quirk she does.
Yeah, exactly.
I really liked the line when Stark buys her the bracelet or whatever, and Zine is like, "Do you know what that symbol represents?" And Stark is like, "Oh my God, Fern, I had no idea." And she's just like, "Of course not. You're an idiot." And she's like, "Of course you don't know the language of flowers. You're dumb." And I don't know. I just
Like, how would you know? You're stupid.
Yes, you don't know anything. That line really tickled me.
That was a good one. I know for me, like I mean I love the screaming. Like anytime I get a chance to scream with him, it kind of takes, like the grounded reality of the show, and like it's like, oh, I get to kind of play it up just a little bit, with his like silly screams. So that's always fun. But I would say two of the lines that stuck out for me, very very short. It was the episode where it's his birthday and they give him some steak at the end, and just everything. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, but let's just say like everything that we've learned about him in that episode, it culminates to him just saying it's good. And I know it sounds a little silly, but like you would have to watch the episode to understand like why those two words are just so important, like in that episode towards the end. So that really hit me. And then for a funny one, I did like at the end of another episode when I think it's the bracelet one as well, Jill, where Frieren was like, "So why are you wearing that?" And Fern's like, "Because Mr. Stark is an idiot." And then Stark just responds with, "No respect." I just thought that was like the funniest thing ever. Oh my gosh. But I would have to say that those are probably some of my favorites.
Oh my God, so good, so good. Okay, guys, we're wrapping up, and so I'm gonna ask our last question of the night. So, Mallory, Jill, Jordan, how does it feel being a part of this anime that's gone so, again, viral and started trending? And I think someone said that it's #1 on my anime list right now. How does it feel being part of like the main cast of this anime?
I mean, it's incredible. I'm so grateful to Jade for thinking of me for this role. It's really been a career changer. And the fact that it's an anime that I actually love, like we haven't even really talked about like the music, like all of the aspects of the anime, but also how it's connected people. I'm really excited for where it's going to go from here. It's not just an anime that's surface level. It goes so much deeper than that, and it's impacting people on a really emotional level. And for me to be even just a small part of that is such a tremendous feeling. So I'm so grateful.
Yeah. For me, like, to be completely honest, when you work in this industry, you end up working on a lot of shows, and they're not all bangers, let's say. They're not all your favorite. And so anytime I get to work on an anime that I genuinely like, is awesome. I mean, anytime I work on anything, I find something to like about it. But Frieren, I love everything about it, and then also just everybody else who's working on it, like the director, the engineers, the script writers, the time coders. Everybody is in love with this show, and I feel like it really shows. Like we always give 100% to every dub that we do, but when you are passionate about it, like there's just a little bit of extra magic that makes it in. And I have ADHD brain, so I forgot where I was going with that. But yes. Oh, the other thing that I was gonna say is it's Fern is a Kana Ichinose role, and she is like literally my favorite Japanese seiyuu. And I've voiced a few characters that she voices, and so just anytime I get to act off of her and hear her just in my pre-roll, I'm like, yay. So that was also just really special.
Um,
For me, I'm just blessed to be a part of the show. Like it was something that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to be considered. So when I got the call, like I said earlier in the story, I was just like, oh yeah, sure. I guess I'm just gonna come in, do a little something, just hop on out. Cool, got a chance to be part of Frieren. So my surprise when I found out that Stark was here to stay, it was a lot of fun. My wife and I, like, we were celebrating, and it was really cool. Like, we started binge watching the show. I think that night, if I'm not mistaken. But the show itself is it's really cool. It's impacted a lot of people. I can tell that a lot of people really appreciate the show, and just kind of like the concept and the mature themes that it talks about. That it talks about in a very delicate way, a very delicate but realistic way. It's a lot of fun. Uh, I mean, like Jill mentioned, just Jade and the engineers, the writers, like everyone's just coming together to really make this show as good as it possibly can be. And I'm hoping that in the future, this is going to be one of those shows that people can look back at and go, hey, now that show was good. Like, everything about that show, the performances, the writing, the concept. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I do hope that it can become one of those shows that people, will hear the name and immediately think, oh yeah, that's a top tier show. That is a grade A anime. That is a recommendation 100% you need to watch. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful to be a part of it.
Well said. And like what you guys are saying, that the music from the directors, everyone who has like worked on the show, from the dub to like the original sub, you could tell so much dedication and love has been put into the production, and like it really shows when an audience is watching, and I really do love that. And being able to like talk to you guys and really like get to know the show from your perspective, it's truly an honor. Truly an honor. Okay, guys, no crying. Well, we're gonna wrap up our free run Q&A, and so everyone is still gonna go do their signing. Stay tuned to what is there a time frame, or is that still in the works?
Still in the works, I think, for all of us. Let me know if I'm speaking out of turn, but we will definitely let you know. But there may be a few surprises in store.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, everyone. So just stay tuned. Make sure to follow everyone their socials just to make sure that you're fully updated on their streaming store. And yeah, bye everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, yeah, thanks so much for having us. It was great chatting with you guys.
And thank you,